Hey everybody, how you doing? Bud Brown here in beautiful Campo, California, high desert. It's a beautiful day today. Of course, the wind's blowing a little bit, top of this hill. But Tammy's not here right now. I wanted to say a little bit about, her situation and what it takes to get what you want. I've always told the kids, man, you got to do what you got to do until you can do what you want to do. So I'm sure that's not my quote, that's somebody else, but it's really served me well over the years. Tammy, I don't know if you know it or if I've mentioned it this time, but she's working on her master's degree in mental health. So not so easy. It's been maybe a couple of years now, I'm not sure. But she's plugging away. And man, talk about making sacrifices. Not long ago, she had to spend she had to spend a week in New Hampshire. There's a training there that the school required her to go to. So, man, I didn't realize how I couldn't get much farther away from California than New Hampshire. Oh my gosh. So she had to spend a week there. And of course, she couldn't work. So, I had to pay for her flight there and back. So, I said to myself, man, she's making a lot of sacrifices. And even now she's going to these different classes. Some are online, and then some she has to go to. She's got to go to what they call an internship. And in order to do that, of course, she didn't get paid for it, but she's got to take on 2 part-time jobs, one before, 4 hours before, her internship, and then 4 hours after her internship. So, oh my gosh, she's really paying the price. But, I think a lot of us, and I'm sure a lot of you too, probably most of you, or maybe all of you, have made sacrifices in your life. But I got to thinking, to reach our goal, we have to have priorities, we have to have motivation, and we've got to make sacrifices, do what we got to do. And I'll just tell you this one story that I had. It's unbelievable. I can't believe it myself, but it's true, because I got I sent off for my orders, my military orders. The reason I did that was because my Vietnam experience was not on my DD-214, which is supposed to be the paper, your discharge paper that tells you all the duty stations you've been to. And I thought to myself, how come my duty station in Vietnam is not on there? So I got to think, well, maybe because it was temporary duty. I went for 3 months at a time once, and then 6 months at another time. And maybe because Navy calls it TAD, I think the rest of the military calls it TDY, temporary duty station. Maybe that's why. So I sent off for my military records. Took, 6 months, but I got it. And sure enough, it said that I went to the school that I'm getting ready to tell you about. And the reason I went to this school was because I was looking for some way to be home. Of the 4 years that I was in, I never missed one Christmas. I say to be home for Christmas. And so I never missed one Christmas while I was in the Navy, because I happened to have leave at that time, or in this case, I had to finagle a leave. No, not AWOL. Don't be thinking that. I was in the Philippines, and I had about 4 or 5 months left before my 4-year contract was up. So I told Gloria, I'm sorry, I'd like to spend Christmas with you. She was my girlfriend at that time. But I've always been home for Christmas, and I wanted to go home for Christmas. So I put in for my leave, but guess what? it got rejected. Why? They say, you're so close to getting out. It might have been less than 6 months of getting out. You can't take leave. I'm not sure of the rules, but anyway, they wouldn't let me take leave. So I thought to myself, how am I going to do this? You know, when you come to a wall, you can't climb over it. There's other ways, you know, go under it, go around it, drill through it. So I hate to use a terrible expression. There's more than one way to skin a cat, which is a horrible expression, but you know what I mean. So I started looking at these schools where they had an automatic leave after the school. Sure enough, there was a school in California, Coronado, that after you went to the school, you got an automatic 2 weeks off for rest and recuperation. What? Really? Well, once I found out what the school was or what it consisted of, I realized now, yeah, because going through this school, you are going to need, if you get out, you may be in a hospital for a week or so. But it's called SERE school, SERE, survival, evasion, resistance, and escape. SERE school. So this school is supposedly, I mean, the purpose is to train sailors that or pilots that may get shot down over Vietnam at that time, how to survive on your own in the wilderness, how to evade the enemy coming after you, or how to survive the POW camp, which that's a good one. So I put in for it and I got it. So just not to drag it out too long, because you know everybody's been in the military has got war stories. Kind of boring mostly. But I went down Coronado, and the first couple of days was in the classroom, which was all right. And they said one of the first main rules was, whatever you do, do not think of this as a school in California. And hey, dog's getting close to the camera. And this is just a school. To make the most of it, you have to believe this is the real thing, that you're really shot down, that you're really evading the enemy, that you're really being interrogated. And of course, they try to make it as realistic as possible. So at that point, I said to myself, okay, I know what I'm going to do. No matter what happens, I'm going to say to myself, this is just a school. It's going to be over in a week. And soon I'll be home with my family. This is not the real thing. It's terrible. I did the opposite of what they said. But anyway, so the first day, you have to hide. And you can see all this stuff if you just Google SERE school, SERE. Mr. Google knows all about it and kind of confirm what I'm saying. But the first day, they take you out into the wilderness and show you how to eat roots and berries and find, you know, things to eat in the woods, survival, and how to start a fire without, you know, matchsticks, and stay warm, make a shelter, this and that. So that was kind of interesting. But then they say, okay, now it's the POW experience. Uh-oh. So they had learned from experience that in World War II, when the Americans and POWs were captured by Japanese or Germans, whatever, they were told, just give your name, rank, and serial number, something like that. And then, of course, since they don't get anything out of you, what good are you? So slap, slap, boom, and you suffer and you die for no reason. So they say, no, you have a lot of information that you can give. You're not allowed to give confidential information, but other things like, you know, where did you go to school? Okay, some things are okay to give. Oh, that way they won't be so hard on you. So I said, okay. So what's going to happen is we're going to let you loose in the woods, hide as best you can, try to make it to this one point. There's a flagpole there. After 2 or 3 hours, if you're not captured, then there'll be a siren. And when you hear that siren, stand up and walk to the flagpole, because eventually everybody's going to be captured. So when they kind of give the go signal, man, I took off, and first thing I did was find me a big bush to hide under. So I'm hiding under it. Before long, here comes the enemy, creeping along, or not creeping, slowly coming. The guy stood just about 10 foot in front of me, looking straight at me. He says, "Okay, you Yankee dog, stand up before I shoot you in the head." I hesitated just a second. As I hesitated, 2 or 3 people all around me stood up. They thought they were talking, he was talking to them. So I said to myself, oh my gosh, he didn't even see me. He doesn't see me. So I stayed still. So they went back with him to the simulated POW camp. So I just waited there. I didn't even try to go to the flagpole. So after a couple hours, siren rang, and that meant stand up and start heading. So sure enough, I stood up and then started walking towards the flagpole, and they came and got me. Okay, Yankee dog. And they start throwing you around, just kind of slinging you here, slinging you there. And I said to myself, I'm just going to be like a rag doll. I'm not going to resist, because I'd heard rumors that this one guy trying to resist, and he twisted and he broke his leg. Of course, that rumor, I don't know if it was a rumor, but that story went around that they had actually broken somebody's leg. But it turns out that he was resisting and fell and broke his own leg. So I said, okay, I'm not going to, no resistance for me. I just flop around, and it kind of like when I was getting a spanking when I was a kid. Man, I would start hollering before the hand even hit my butt. Ow! Ah, ah, ah. So, I just faked being hurt. So that's the way they say, oh, them throwing me around. So they're throwing me around. Finally, we got to the POW and they put everybody, well, I forgot to mention, they put a sack over your head. So, you look like these prisoners that have the sack over the head, and they're being led to the POW camp. And they put us in this box, small box, just barely could sit down in it. And you just stay there. Well, night came, and you're not allowed to. I thought to myself, I'm just going to go to sleep here. But they knew that people were going to do that. So they said, when we come around and knock on your box, if you don't say your number 36 or whatever it is, then they know you're probably asleep. And if you're asleep, they drag you out of the box, put you on this plank, facing up. And I don't know if you've heard this before, but it's called waterboarding. They used to use it a lot and during the wars. And I think maybe even the CIA still uses it. That's questionable, so I'm not even going to talk about that. Hold your arms out, and they put this cloth over your face, and then they have a pitcher of water poured on there, and you feel like you're drowning, and you just feel like you're drowning. And now, whether that's torture or not torture, that's a debatable thing. But they're not bringing out any blood, and I don't know. But if you're suffering, you're suffering. So I saw them do a guy. Matter of fact, before they put us in the boxes, as I'm thinking about it, they showed us. They just took this one kid. He was the youngest and smallest. Oh, I feel so sorry for him. And they were saying that's what's going to happen if we don't answer our number when they knock. So I said to myself, okay, got it. So I've always, I never had any problem there. But the next day, of course, you're sleepy, no sleep, and hadn't eaten except the roots and berries that we had found a couple of days before. But then it was time for the interrogation. Oh, man. And I said to myself, just don't Don't say anything confidential. And before I even got in there, I was getting ready to say something. Before I even got in there, it grabbed me by the collar like this and banged me up against the wall. I think the walls were able, they're plywood, but they were able to give a little bit. So it's not like solid concrete blocks, you know, that would really hurt your head. Besides that, they hold you where your shoulders are together. And so your back has a pretty good, lot of meat back there and fat in my case. And so going against the wall, it didn't really hurt that much because, you know, the wall kind of gives a little bit. So anyway, sat down. You're no good Yankee dog, you tell us that. And then the old good cop, bad cop. Then the guy said, hello there, Mr. Brown. Says, I'm sorry, we have to do this. But if you could just, you know, tell us what we want to know, then we'll let you go. And you see that soldier over there, that sailor over there, and there had a guy over there. He was one of the captees, and he was eating. He was by a fireplace, and he said he told us what we wanted to know. And look, he's getting fed, and he's resting. He's by a warm fire. Of course, I learned later that they just picked somebody to make it look like he gave up. So hey, if you give him a little information, then you'll be, you know, in good conditions like he is. So I said to myself, no, I can't. And then he said, well, just read. All you have to do is just read this letter. And it's a letter of confession. You know, I'm no good and we're no good and blah, blah, blah. And so I read it and I read it silently and I said, no, I can't. He said, all you have to do then, just read it out loud. You don't have to sign it. And in my mind, I remember reading somewhere, hey, don't read anything out loud because they'll have an audio recording. And, oh, look, he's confessing. So I said, no. I wasn't a tough guy. I just said, no, I can't read it out loud. I can't do it. And so finally, they said, get out of here, go back to your box. So I went back to the box. And the next day, I think it was day 4, day 5, they had everybody picking up these little sticks and they were switching people with those. They wasn't hurting them, but it was like a switch hitting them. And Yankee dog barked like a dog. And I'm going, bark, 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 bark. I know dogs probably go arf, arf or bow wow, but I just said bark, 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 bark. Pretty soon we look and we hear the national anthem and we see this American flag going up the flagpole, and these American planes start flying over. Oh, and it was because of the music and tired and sleepy and hungry. Everybody just, oh, we're saved, we're saved. And so I kind of forgot about, hey, you're just in training. You know, when you lose sleep, then your mind just kind of, hey, man, this is real. So sure enough, once we got out of that, I got 2 weeks leave. I got to stay home and have Christmas with my parents, and it was great. And I said to myself, man, it was worth it being going through that. So I said all that to say, you know, sometimes it takes a lot of sacrifice, and maybe you could say the greater the goal, the greater the sacrifice. But it's worth it when you have a worthy goal. So said all that to say, you know, hang in there. Even we older people still have goals, you know. We still have goals that we want to accomplish. Financial or health or relationships. It's all good, and whatever it takes to fulfill that goal, I want to encourage everybody to do it. So that's it for this time. Till next time, take care. Bye-bye.